This is one of those days. Only 10 minutes late. Good
We
evening
did it.
and welcome. I just want to sleep. Good evening and welcome to Momentum Live, episode 93. I'm Tristan Jutra.
And I'm Tasia Custodi, and we are tired.
And the title of this episode is Maybe AI Should Run Twitter, but maybe we should rename it to Maybe AI Should Run Momentous.
Exactly.
And then we could get back to shoveling snow. I don't know what you're doing, but that's what we do in Vancouver nowadays is just shovel snow. What are you doing in Scottsdale?
I mean, it's like a brisk 50 degrees. I'm cold.
So what's that? What in metric? So that is what, like 10 degrees Celsius, roughly.
It's
You've
chilly.
gone native, haven't you? Holy smokes!
I know.
50
It's been
degrees.
going down to freezing overnight.
Oh, tonight it's going to be minus 13, I think, here Celsius. So whatever that is in
I
your.
mean, I'm going back to the cold, if it makes you feel any better.
The real cold in Toronto.
Yes, trying to beat the winter storm that's coming. So
Enjoy. So YVR, the Vancouver International Airport, was a gong show today. Apparently, like flights getting canceled left and right, and yeah. So
I heard people were stuck on airplanes for hours.
well,
Just
only
stuck.
8 or 9. Only 8 or 9.
Oh
That's
my
good.
gosh, it's awful.
All right, so let's take advantage of our non-aviation dependent privilege here, and well, I don't know about you, but I'm also freezing because our thermostat and our furnace are, are having fun with us today. So I actually unplugged
Perfect.
we have a Nest learning thermostat that I unplugged and charged in because I think it's having power trouble. It's not getting enough power from the RH1 wire. So, next thing you know, it's like down to 17 degrees in our house. So I unplugged that for a few hours and it went down to 15. And now it's getting back up there again. But, old house too. So it's
Oh, yeah.
very drafty. That's okay.
Layers.
Helps keep you slim. Get that brown fat going instead of the white fat. All right, let's that's enough. That's enough. Should we get to it?
We should get to it.
Let's get to it. All right. Let's start with some follow-up. One of the features that we were talking about a couple of months ago with the updates to Apple's various operating systems, mobile operating systems such as iOS and watchOS, was a little something called crash detection, which was, I believe, available in more recent models of the Apple Watch and iPhones. And there's a story in the New York Times about a couple that they were being tailgated by someone in a luxury car. Started honking, and then so they pulled off the side of the road and hit some gravel and ended up going off a cliff.
Oh
300 feet. And that's kind of what it looked like here. It's not a good time to be, but luckily, somehow, it was a Hyundai Elantra, and somehow they survived with only minor injuries, scrapes, cuts and scrapes, a slight concussion. But they're, it's 2 PM and already down to 40 degrees Fahrenheit and getting cooler as the sun approaches the horizon, starts sinking in the sky. What do you do? Well, the first thing you do is try to find your phone. They were in an area with no cellular coverage. They found the phone of Chloe Fields, and it was about 10, I think they said 10 feet outside the car. They recovered it. The screen was smashed, but it was still working. Like I said, no cell coverage, but crash detection had triggered, said, hey, it looks like you're in a car crash. You want help? And it's like, yes, please. And because they're at a cell coverage, they were able to activate, and because it was one of the iPhone 14 models, they were able to activate the satellite messaging feature, which is only available in iPhone 14 models, and takes a minute to capture a signal and whatnot, but then you can send an emergency SOS message to satellite. And a little while later, emergency services were there to help them out. So it's not just a marketing tool. It's actually something that can do some real good in people's lives. of course, Apple is going to use this for marketing, assuredly, when these stories start to come in, as they have with fall detection over the last few years in the iPhones and the Apple Watches. But when you have hundreds of millions of these devices out there, you're going to have people using these features as much as the occasion may be very rare. So, Kasia, a quick impression on this story, and can you see any potential downside to people knowing about this kind of technology? Because I can think of at least one. Not to rain on this parade a little bit, because this is an amazing, feel-good story of the holidays. But what's your initial reaction to this?
Well, my first thing was it's a New York Times story, so I believe they are do a pretty good job vetting things. My first thing was is this for real?
You believe the fake news, New York Times?
Right.
But the failing New York Times.
That's a fall of 300 feet.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane. It's insane. I think it's very cool, though. My mom fell and her Apple Watch fall detection didn't go off. So you win some, you lose some. She
needs to fall harder.
Harder, exactly. It was too much of a gentle fall that it didn't trigger the detection. So I guess this is the type of thing that happens. Bleed.
So here's the one little thing I have a concern. I mean, this is great, and the fact that the crash detection worked, the fact that there was the satellite communication that was able to work. The only little niggling thing I have in the back of my head about stuff like this is that, kind of like we see with things like protective gear in sports, and I'm just trying. I had another example I thought of earlier today, but now it's got lost. It's gone out of my head. When people know that there's something that might be able to bail them out, are they perhaps somewhat more likely to engage in risky behavior? I don't think that was the case here, obviously. This was just like a freak accident, getting gravel. But when people start to hear stories about stuff like this, and are they tempted to be maybe just slightly less careful than they should be? And especially as regards the satellite thing, because we've all heard stories about people hiking and skiing in the off limits areas, backcountry, all that kind of thing. And people have maybe been a bit more willing to do so with cell phones and whatnot. Will they be even more willing to do so even if they're out of cell phone coverage? They think, oh, it's okay, my iPhone will bail me out. Thoughts?
I don't know. Not me. I'm too risk adverse.
Okay. I'm just that's the only fly in the ointment to me. Are people going to?
Yeah, when I see stories like this, it's like, oh gosh, maybe I shouldn't be so cheap, and I should just upgrade everybody's phones. That's what I mean.
You could upgrade your own and just lead by example. You don't have to upgrade everyone's phones for them.
That's true.
Anyway, so amazing story. Glad those folks are safe. But let's not. I mean, this was a freak accident, but for anyone else out there, especially those without fully developed prefrontal cortexes, don't take extra risks just because your phone or your watch might be able to bail you out. Okay, that's the lesson here.
Mm-hmm.
In other follow-up, a few weeks ago, we talked about good old Sam Bankman-Fried, founder and former CEO of crypto exchange FTX, which fell apart due to all sorts of shenanigans and alleged fraud in the commingling of customer account funds with sister company Alameda Research, which was a hedge fund. There's all sorts of stuff that's come out in the wash, and it's a bad scene. So he's been charged with all sorts of fraud related charges, and he has been being held in the Bahamas, where he was holed up and he got arrested there, hanging out in a Bahamian jail. Apparently wasn't a great time. He's finally agreed to be extradited to the US, because apparently the jail he was in had not the greatest conditions, and he's probably like, maybe it's not great having to go to the US to face justice, but maybe the less time I'm here and the more time I'm there, the better. I've got to face the music eventually. So a little update on Sam Bankman-Fried there for anyone who's still following along. But the moral of that story is don't do frauds.
Don't do frauds. Don't get arrested in foreign countries. You think you don't have it good?
Yeah.
You just wait.
Yeah. The U.S. government doesn't take kindly on wire fraud, especially too. That's seems to get all sorts of different regulators involved.
So no
next
risky
up,
behavior, no fraud. Check.
There's gonna be so many lessons today. It's gonna be wonderful,
guys. If you didn't know it, these are just life lessons for you coming at you tonight.
And other quasi follow-up news. We've been talking a lot over the last several months here on Momentous Live about the consumer-facing AI revolution. A lot of the tools that we've been able to use, such as DALL-E 2, there was DALL-E, which is more for researchers, DALL-E 2, DALL-E Mini, which is now called Crayon with an AI in the middle, Stable Diffusion, which runs through Discord. There's Midjourney runs through Discord, Stable Diffusion, the app you can download to your computer called Diffusion Bee, where you can run it on your own machine rather than in the cloud, and the like. And we've got, we also talked about ChatGPT, which we're going to get into again a bit more, but some creative uses from some of these image generating AI platforms. There's one fellow who has started an Instagram account, and he's on Twitter as well, where he's a time traveler, and he's created a character, and he is posting images of himself from the various locations in the ancient world. That's all.
I mean, couldn't he also just Photoshop that?
He could, but he's actually using the Stable Diffusion to help render these scenes, and he's taking a lot of customization, a lot of tweaking, and as he says, it takes about 3 hours per image. So let's just to help clear up any notions that these tools are going to totally just replace artists right out of the gate. There's still a fair bit of effort required to get credible results. Here's him sailing with Columbus on one of his ships across the Pacific in 1492, sailing the ocean blue. And more recently, that was before, in ancient Egypt and in ancient Troy, of course. And him being chased by, is that a mammoth, a woolly mammoth, or is that a mastodon? If it was a mastodon, that would be on point. I think it's a woolly mammoth. I think
it's a mammoth.
Yeah, and I'm not sure where his clothes went, but it's kind of fun.
Well, he wouldn't have clothes back then. Only a phone to take a selfie.
I suppose. Just being true to the era. So anyway, this is one of the dozens, if not hundreds, of interesting creative endeavors being done through image generation platforms. In this case, like Stable Diffusion. So you can follow this guy at
very creative.
Stealthy TT, or if that's how it's. Yeah, he's got a stealthy log. I'm not sure what that stands for, but he's doing virtual time travel with the help of artificial intelligence. Now, in related news, there has been a lot of hand-wringing amongst various artistic communities regarding the emergence of these AI generative art tools. And one of the concerns is that, and we've talked about this in past episodes, is how their public work, like artists' work, visual work on the web, is being crawled by these AIs and ingested into their own algorithms. And we've talked about a certain art that's been generated in the style of artist X, and that artist is like, well, yeah, that kind of looks like my stuff, but I never gave anyone permission. And then the argument is like, well, no one's actually copying your work, they're just using your style. And there's lots of, over the decades, if not centuries, it's a tradition of people borrowing and other styles and paying homage and whatnot. So what's the difference if an AI does it, or people using an AI? It's just on a larger scale. So there's a whole ethical conversation there. It gets, of course, a little murky, even murkier when you see in the corners some mutilated versions of artist signatures, which have been scooped up as part of these this crawling the web as well. So more recently, we have a bunch of artists staging a mass protest against AI generated art on one website called ArtStation, which is an online community. And what they're doing is they're almost like poisoning the well, so to speak, by posting a lot of images with the no parking style symbol across AI, and sometimes some of their own artwork in behind. The idea being that the crawlers will come and pick up a lot of this, and it will, confuse the AIs. I suppose that's part of it. In response, the makers of some of the, such as makers of Stable Diffusion, said, cool, yeah, we get your concerns, but just so you know, this is not going to be in any algorithms anytime soon. So nice try. We get your point, but
Yeah.
it's more of at this point, it's really just a publicity stunt. But there are some concerns there, and some people have proposed maybe when new works are generated, somehow listing or tagging the artists whose works have informed the algorithm that was used to generate the new works. But that could get really murky. I mean, how much do you what if it's like 1,000 different people who's, or I mean, sometimes it'll be less, but it's you assign a percentage, a weight, and there's not going to be any compensation there. Anyhow, it's just such early days in this whole phenomenon. I mean, people are, if we look at the music industry and sampling, right? That was different. I mean, that was a lot more just like, oh, I'm going to take a little bit of a song, I'm going to put in my own song, I'm going to use it to create a beat or the backbone of. And we've had all sorts of lawsuits over the years. I mean, old Beastie Boy records could never be made today because of the amount of clearances required for the samples there. Other bands like Pop Elite itself and the Justified Inch of Moo Moo sampled like crazy. So this is different. This is like kind of quasi sampling on an industrial scale and allowing people to create all sorts of amazing new works. Where do you think this is going to go, Tasia? Do you see any practical way out of this to address the concerns of artists, or are they just going to have to suck it up?
I think this is a perfect example of like tech moving faster than we know what to do with it or how to regulate it, which happens all the time. But it's going to be really interesting to see because, like you're saying, like, how do you possibly credit every single potential artist that, if there was like a little fragment of a piece of, you know what I mean? Like you could have infinite amount of work that's being pulled to create a new image. And then from there, that image is technically another piece of work that would need to be, so it's this snowball thing. So I think the people that are smart developers need to figure it out. It's not
I can see when someone has entered a prompt that is deliberately said in the style of artist X, in the style of Banksy, in the style of Georgia O'Keeffe,
right.
in the style of Picasso. Whether people are alive or dead, if they're dead, they still have their estates that have a financial interest. If they're alive, they've got even a more pressing financial interest. But if people haven't said in the style of, then like you said, it's anybody's guess how that can be figured out. Now, in further AI news, the last couple of weeks, I think we touched on, I think last week or the week before, the emergence of ChatGPT, which is from OpenAI, which was originally co-founded or at least funded in part by Elon Musk, because he's got his fingers in everything. And OpenAI has a number of AI-related projects. ChatGPT is a language model that has just reached version 3.5, I believe, and is getting scary good. Let's just say you can have conversations with it. You can get it to do research for you. You can get it to write essays, poems, songs, scenes for a play, a screenplay. Like, it is unreal. And I have been spending way too much time with this tool over the last couple of weeks. And I was wondering, Tasia, if you've had a chance to play with it at all. And if not,
I
we
have
can quit.
not.
Well, then maybe it's an opportunity for us to do something live right now. So some of the questions that I have been throwing at, actually, before we get into that, one of the key concerns that's happening right now is that the college essay, and especially the high school essay, may very well be dead at this point, because this language model is getting so sophisticated. You can basically ask it to, write a 1,200-page essay on the causes of World War I, and it'll just do it. And it's not
But like,
plagiarizing from anywhere. It's synthesizing from the corpus of text that exists on the web up until 2021. So anything that's happened in 2022 is kind of off limits. But anything 2021 and earlier, it's got it in its brain somehow.
I would like to test it though with how that would actually be graded.
Well, there's
Like, we
one.
think it's cool because it blows our mind, but
Yeah.
like, if you actually turn that paper in or something, like
Mm-hmm.
the professor would be like, "What the hell is this?"
Well, apparently, savvy students have been using previous versions of this tool and others since at least the springtime, and just totally flying under the radar. And there's I just saw a story in the last couple of days. I didn't grab it for tonight, of one that's actually a college paper that was flagged. Someone caught it. There are some telltale signs, and I think especially if you have more than one student submitting a paper on the same topic for the same class, that's where it's going to start to
Right.
get, if you have savvy teachers or instructors or professors paying attention, it's like, wow, these styles seem really similar, because it writes papers, at least, kind of like we were taught in high school. You've got an introduction where you're introducing the thesis, you're recapping the points that you're going to make, and then you get into the points, one by one throughout your paragraphs, and then you have a little conclusion at the end that summarizes. And that's exactly how it does it. So there's a lot of discussion right now saying that because this is only going to get better and better, maybe the sort of exercises we're having students do at the high school and college level when it comes to papers, I mean, it's going to be harder and harder to detect when AI is being used, unless some other more sophisticated tools emerge, or AI watermarking is used, where somehow, through the patterns of speech, perhaps it can be detected using some other tools. But only a blockhead would simply copy and paste the result from this and submit it as their own. You're going to want to massage it a little bit to put it a bit more into your own voice, or to correct any errors, because sometimes there are actual errors in here. These aren't perfect. But just imagine if we had this when we were in school,
Seriously.
right? I hate writing essays. I've always hated writing essays. This would be like, oh, here we go.
Man, I used to think Cole's notes were so cool.
So,
Like, holy.
so one of the so I'll tell you some of the things that I've had it do over the last couple of weeks. I've had it research certain household products and sort of household appliances, and the things I should be looking for, and comparing different models. I've had it tell me about the features of certain software as a service products, or SaaS products, from in the Microsoft 365 suite. For example, what's the difference between Microsoft Project Online and Microsoft Project on the web, which sound pretty similar to me, but it was able to explain the difference, and without me having to browse through or dig through a Microsoft support pages and wrap my head around it. It was able to explain it in a succinct manner. Ask it how tools like that integrate into the other parts of the Microsoft 365 suite, or even third-party apps, such as Intuit QuickBooks. So it's just amazing, how much time it can save you. Again, assuming that it's mostly accurate. I've had it okay, so I'm just going to stop right there, and I'm going to ask you, Tasia, for a question to ask ChatGPT. I mean, some of the examples
Like,
it's got here is explain quantum computing in simple terms. Got any creative ideas for a 10-year-old's birthday? How do I make an HTTP request in JavaScript? Because that's the other type of language that it understands is programming languages. It also can converse and in, I believe, English, French, I think Spanish, Portuguese, and a couple others. Oh, you know what? We can actually just ask it, what languages do you understand? I'm just going to ask it. That's what I did before. I am trained to
oh, and it's
understand
like
and
so quick.
yeah, some questions are quicker than others to be answered. I'm trained to understand and respond to text input in a variety of languages, including English, Spanish, French, German, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Portuguese, and Russian. I can also understand and respond to text written in many other languages, although my ability to understand and generate responses in those languages may be more limited. If you have a specific question or issue that you'd like help with, please let me know, and I will do my best to assist you. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is say,
It's like that's too easy.
rephrase that in the form of a limerick. A language model named Assistant could understand many a linguistic variant, from English to Spanish to French to German, and even Chinese, Japanese, and Korean. Oh, it didn't exactly rhyme, but it tried.
That's cute.
I asked it, what would be a good meal to cook for my lover? And it provided a number of suggestions.
Were they good suggestions?
Yeah, they were. They were pretty on point. You know, when things if you know about the sorts of foods that maybe tend to be more romantic, that have certain types of those components and chemicals in them, whether there's oysters or red meat or chocolate or what have you. Okay, do you have any kind of question? Let's throw at it, Tej. Let's do it live.
And it doesn't have to like follow this order. You can just throw it out of whatever you want.
Yeah, just say anything and we'll try it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But we can always rephrase the question. And there's some tricks. And the other cool thing about it is that it retains the state. So you can ask follow-up questions without having to reiterate the entire premise again. Like you can use the word it in your follow-up question and it'll know what it is that you're talking about.
Okay, but what if you ask it something that's like who is the greatest musical artist of all time? Like,
Well,
does
let's
it have
try
an
it.
opinion?
Let's try it.
Or is it going to be like, I don't have an opinion on that?
Well, it's probably not going to say Taylor Swift if that's what you're asking. It's going to say it often hedges, right? It's difficult to determine who the greatest musical artist of all time is, as this is a subjective judgment that can vary widely
Oh
depending on
boy.
individual taste and cultural background. Blah 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 blah. Some may consider
Holy
musicians like
moly.
Beethoven, Mozart, or Bach to be the greatest of all time, while others might consider more contemporary artists like Elvis Presley, the Beatles, or Michael Jackson to be the greatest. Ultimately, it is up to each individual to decide for themselves who they believe is the greatest musical artist of all time. So, okay, that's fine and all. It's kind of it's hedging, but it's thrown out some credible answers there. But should we press it a little bit more? How about female musicians?
Yeah. Listed all men.
Well, I mean, in human history, the greatest. I mean, those are the Elvis, Beatles, and Michael Jackson. Like in terms of sales, like let's see if we can get what we get here. Like male musicians, is difficult to determine. Blah de blah. Some may consider
For Pete's sakes.
female classical musicians like Clara Schumann or Hildegard von Bingen. Actually, thumbs up for Hildegard, to be among the greatest of all time, while others might consider more contemporary female pop or rock musicians like Aretha Franklin, Madonna, or Whitney Houston to be the greatest.
You should add Taylor Swift to your list of great female musicians.
My friend
Just say
Deja
of great musicians.
says you
don't
should
gender it.
add Taylor Swift to. Oh no, it's going to say what about Taylor Swift? How about that? Because this demonstrates that it knows what you're getting at. Taylor Swift is highly successful, an influential musician who has had a significant impact in the music industry. She is known for her catchy pop and country-influenced songs, which often deal with themes of love, heartbreak, and personal growth. Swift has won numerous awards through her career, including 10 Grammy Awards, and she has released several critically acclaimed albums that have reached the top of the charts. Many people consider her to be a talented and influential artist, and she has a large and devoted fan base around the world. However, it is up to the individual to decide for themselves whether they consider Taylor Swift to be the greatest musical artist of all time. So I'm going to say rephrase this in the form of a country song. Yeah, country song. Writing
Oh
verse
my
1.
gosh.
There's a question that's been bugging me. Who's the greatest of them all? Can't you see? Is it someone from the past or a contemporary artist that's built to last?
Oh my gosh.
It's a matter of personal preference. That's what they say. Different folks will have different views on who's the greatest of their day. So don't let anyone tell you who to believe. Just follow your heart and you'll find your own perfect musical reprieve.
Okay, wait. We are all songwriters now.
Right?
Holy. We're
So,
poets, we're songwriters.
yeah, so we're just scratching the surface here. So you want to take this to the next level? What you do is say something like, um, write a scene where two friends, Asia and Tristan, are talking about the implications for art, essay writing, and songwriting. Oh, so the implications of, let's say, of AI, such as, I'll just say AI, for art, essay writing, and songwriting. um, in where two friends here are talking in their tech-focused live stream about the implications of AI for art, essay writing, and songwriting. Okay. How long are we gonna? We'll just leave it at that. We'll keep it open-ended. Asia and Tristan sat in front of their cameras, chatting excitedly about the latest developments in artificial intelligence and its potential impacts on the world of art. I can't. Okay, you do yours parts, and I'll do mine.
Okay, I can't believe how far AI has come.
Keep going.
Oh,
It's
it's
starting.
starting to get really good at things like essay writing and songwriting.
Yeah, it's amazing to see how quickly it's advancing. I'm sure we'll see AI-generated art and music becoming more common in the near future.
But
Tasia
what does it
frowned.
mean for human artists? Will we become obsolete?
Tristan shook his head. I don't think so. AI might be able to create art and music that's technically proficient, but I don't think it will be able to capture the same emotional depth and nuance that a human artist can. Art and music have always been ways for humans to express their deepest feelings and experiences, and I don't think AI will ever be able to fully replicate that.
I agree. AI may be able to assist us in our artistic endeavors, but I don't think it will ever replace the human touch. After all, art and music are integral parts of what makes us human.
Exactly. AI may be able to help us create and share our art more efficiently, but it will never be able to fully replace the human experience and creativity that goes into it.
I don't know. It's pretty good.
Okay, so now we say, now do it again, but make them take, make them argue aggressively about it. Kristen and Tasia sat in front of their computers, their faces tense as they argued about the implications of artificial intelligence for the world of art. Go.
It's you.
No, it's you.
Oh, I can't believe you're so naive, Tristan. AI is going to take over everything, including art and music. It's already starting to get really good at things like essay writing and songwriting. What's next? In sculptures?
You're being ridiculous, Tasia. AI may be able to create technically proficient art and music, but it'll never be able to capture the same emotional depth and nuance that a human artist can. Art and music have always been ways for humans to express their deepest feelings and experiences, and AI will never be able to fully replicate that. Let's just say that, it said you spat out, I scowled, and now you snorted.
So I snort. Oh, please, Tristan. You're living in a dream world. AI is advancing at an exponential rate, and it's only a matter of time before it surpasses human artistic ability. We might as well just give up now and let the machines take over.
Tristan's eyes narrowed. I won't give up that easily, Tasia. Human art and music will always have value, no matter how advanced AI becomes. We may be able to use AI to assist us in our artistic endeavors, but we'll never be able to fully replace the human experience and creativity that goes into it.
Tasia sneered. We'll see about that. I have a feeling AI is going to leave us in the dust. Finger snap. There's my artistic flair out into the AI, my finger snap.
Okay, so while we chat about this, I'm just going to ask it to rephrase that in the form of a rap battle. So as you can see, like in
Uh-oh.
the in the you notice like a lot of the content is kind of the same. They've just changed, they tweaked a few words, a few of the descriptions about our reactions, the sneering and the snorting and whatnot, and then amped up some of the other language. Okay, so
I
now
think
in the
it's
form of,
really good though.
right, in the form of a rap battle, Tasia stepped up to the mic, her eyes blazing with intensity as she faced off against Tristan. Now it's time to rap, Tasia.
I can't believe the crap you're spitting, Tristan.
Keep
Oh my
going.
God. AI is going to take over everything, including art and music. It's already starting to get good at things like essay writing and songwriting. What's next? Painting and sculpture? This isn't a rap.
It's not, yeah. Well, you gotta go with the, you gotta make the flow happen. Tristan stepped up to the mic, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Yo, Tasia, you're tripping. That's how we know it's a rap, right? AI may be able to create technically proficient art and music, but it'll never capture the emotional depth and nuance that a human artist. Okay, this is trash. So sometimes it's better
Yeah.
than others. So anyway, this just gives a little sample of like where we're going. You can do things like let's say describe the history of hip hop in 1,000 words divided into 8 seminal moments. And it's some of the requests take a little longer than others, but I asked it the other night about like what are some of the the top 10 moments in the history of computing, for example. You can ask it to arrange things in number of sections, ordered lists, and so on. So here it's just explaining. Now, one, the birth of hip hop can be traced back to the 1970s in South Bronx, New York City, and so on and so on. Number two, the first hip hop record in 1979, the Sugar Hill Gang. Number three, the golden age of hip hop, the 1980s, referred to the gold. Like it's just doing it. So
It's kind of mind blowing.
this is why people are excited about this tech. And like I said, I've been spending a lot of time on it. And you can set up for a free account now. Think of the implications for search engine optimization, people cranking out content to include on their website. You got to be careful. You don't want to have duplicate content of someone else because the similar questions, you're going to get similar answers. Unless you ask it to rephrase the question, sometimes you can give it another go. But it's a probabilistic language model. And you can Google that to find out what that means. Anyhow, so you're going to sign up for your free account, Tasia, and give it a go?
I mean, maybe. I should tell my niece about this so it can do her coding projects for her.
Well, okay. One last thing here. I'm going to say pretend you are a Commodore 64 and write a program that determines the lowest common denominator of two numbers entered by the user. I actually wrote a program like this when I was in school because I was lazy doing math homework, and I did programs to help find lowest common denominators and greatest common factors. And so it's actually writing a program in BASIC on the that would work on the Commodore 64. I've got a Commodore 64 sitting over here. I should actually punch it in and test it. That do command looks a little funny. REM is is a remark you can add. So now I'm going to say, so it's given us a 16-line program there. Or no, sorry, an 11-line program. Now I can say, now do it again in Pascal, which is another programming language that doesn't use line numbers. it's just like, what is happening? It's like, it feels like we're living in a simulation. You're getting the computer write code
Seriously.
for you. There's someone who's actually, I think we talked about this last week, the week before. Someone wrote that instructed it to run basically a pseudo Linux virtual machine inside itself, and then they got it, and then it created like a file directory that could browse and they could run certain commands, and then they got it to create another Linux virtual machine inside the Linux virtual machine. It's like,
Oh my
yo,
gosh.
dog, what? It's so yeah, it's just and you see, you need to test some of the stuff out, see if it works, validate it, tweak it, and the like. But these kind of tools, again, may not necessarily replace humans, at least not yet, but they can be very powerful to help humans. Just like we've used things like word processors and Photoshop and the like to make us more efficient and and help with like the heavy lifting or a lot of the really pedestrian type things, just like people have done with like programming libraries and the like. Now we're just getting our little AI helpers to help us write code or essays or songs or do research. Any thoughts
It's
before we
brilliant.
move on?
No, I mean, we pretty much could spend the whole show on this.
Okay, challenge accepted. All right, so that is chat.openai.com. Check it out, sign up for a free account, and I encourage you to play with it because there's a lot of
It's
interesting stuff
crazy.
there. Another project from actually, this is not from OpenAI. This is from Hugging Face, which created, I believe, Stable Diffusion. They have a free distributed network for running text generating AI. So this is going to be similar to ChatGPT, but the angle here is that it's going to be distributed computing, kind of like Folding at Home or SETI at Home, where you could run a client on your computer and it will help do the processing for the larger project. And that way it's free because apparently OpenAI to run ChatGPT is costing OpenAI about $100,000 per day. So
Jeez.
it's not going to be free forever. That's $3 million a month, right? For us writing our rap battles. We're just like burning up their money. So this program called Petal would be a way to help make these sorts of initiatives a bit more sustainable by distributing computing across all sorts of people's computers across the web. So that's an interesting development. So we will pay attention to that. And then OpenAI, which is the creators of ChatGPT, which we were just talking about, they've released something called Point E, which is kind of like DALL-E, which is an image generating platform, but for 3D modeling. And we talked about another 3D modeling tool a few weeks ago. This is OpenAI's take on it, and it's just creates thousands and thousands of points, and then you could import that into your your program, your software, and rotate it, manipulate it, and the like. So more and more tools for creation. This could help you build your home in the metaverse, Tasia.
Gosh. What is reality?
Exactly. All right. Speaking of reality, should we get into what I know you really want to get into today?
Oh, geez.
It seems like every week there's more news about Twitter. So
Every hour.
every hour. And I swear that this is part of the strategy just to keep Twitter in the news because what's happening is engagement on Twitter is going up, even though
Yeah.
Mastodon has increased their subscribership from however many, a couple 100,000 to like over like 1 million or so now. It's still a fraction of the size of Twitter. And a lot of these people are still on Twitter as well. And a lot of other people are going to Twitter to check out the dumpster fire. So maybe it's all part of the grand strategy. Just stay in the news and keep going, testing things back and forth and throw up a poll here and there to help make a decision, like you're a man of the people. So you want to walk us through some of these stories one by one, Tasia?
Sure.
Starting with Twitter briefly
Okay.
banning links and username mentions relating to non-Twitter platforms. What's all that about?
Yeah, so this one, and I'm not exaggerating, literally lasted 4 hours. No joke. So when I say it's changed by the hour, I really mean it. So he all of a sudden Musk comes out in a tweet, of course, because this is how he announces everything, and says, "We're not going to allow users to link out to other social media platforms, and there's certain ones that make this list, like Mastodon and Instagram and Facebook and a few others. YouTube was not on the list, so I was like, oh, thank gosh. Not only could you not link out, but they said, in your Twitter bio, you can't have a link like promoting your
Mhm.
other,
Mhm.
if like follow me on Instagram. And so they had all these examples of what you weren't allowed to do, and they said you were going to be suspended if you do it. Um, which obviously people were like, I'm sorry, what now? Like, and I remember I messaged my client about this because she promotes a lot of her Instagram and Facebook stuff through that, as well as we promote her YouTube stuff. And I was like, hey, FYI, like, I know you don't have this in your bio, but here's like what's going on, blah, 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 blah. And then it was literally 4 hours later, never mind. That's changed. Just forget it. It's fine.
And even tools
So
like
that's, you know,
Linktree, for example, which was like just like
yes, link shortening rivals, which
yeah,
like
like Linktree is
exactly
like
link in bio,
yeah,
Linktree, yeah, which
and
are
that just
both huge.
and they just give you like a single page that has links to a bunch of your other socials. So they were even banning links to those like those single bio page type sites.
Exactly, because in his mind it was like, well, people will just use a link shortener.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy. But then quickly, as what he does is he listened to the fallout and went, never mind. The
Just
amount
kidding.
of time they're wasting on it. Oh man, building support pages and what this policy is going to look like, and then it's like, yeah, psych.
So this actually is a good point, because one of the things that I've always told people is that you should have your own website with your own URL, and you can use that to link to all your other socials. So, a lot of platforms will let you link elsewhere as well. Like on YouTube, as you know, you can link to your website, but then all your social platforms as well. Some platforms, such as Instagram and Twitter, only give you space for one URL. And there's a weird thing I discovered on Instagram. It seems like a recent change. You can't actually update your link in your bio from the web. You have to do it from the app. I don't remember that ever being the case before. So that's like if you're using the web tools to do posts on Instagram, and you often say link in bio, then you got to go to the app to update the link in your bio. It's like, that's kind of crazy. But so you only have one official URL link in bios on some sites, including Twitter. So why not make that go to your website, and then you can link to all your socials from there. And then you're generally not going to get scooped up by arbitrary policies like this. But if you're using, link shortener, or you're linking directly to another social platform, or if you're linking to something like Biosite or Linktree, rather than having, a proper full website with your own URL, that's not going to trigger things. That's how you take control of your personal brand, and you're less subject to the whims of owner/CEOs who
Yeah.
chief twits who are doing their own thing. And now my watch is giving me directions to drive somewhere. So you said this was a short-lived thing. A lot of people were scrambling, a lot of consultants, a lot of agencies, and of course client side folks as well. Why do you think Twitter did this, or Elon did this specifically?
He's trying to get people to just stay on the site and doesn't
Mhm.
want people like necessarily bouncing off, but that's not really how social media is used. So when you think of like how we cross promote things, or some stuff we might put on one platform and some content we might put on another platform, and like each has its place, but to think people aren't going to bounce because you don't allow them to send links out, well, they're just going to stop using your platform then. Do you know what I mean? Like a lot
Well,
of people
yeah,
use Twitter
yeah,
to promote what they have going on. I mean, really,
fair,
that's
yeah.
what everybody's using social media for. So I think his whole thought was just, wanting to keep the user session longer.
Mhm.
But obviously it backfired big time. Again, what else is new? I mean, it's literally like watching him throw spaghetti at the wall and seeing if it sticks at this point. And it's just like, oh boy, what's gonna happen tomorrow? It's
Honestly, that's part of
incredible.
it's part of the excitement.
Yeah, you just don't know what he's gonna do next, which what he did next was funny and questionable, but
Which was
so he ran a Twitter poll shortly after announcing the no links and then psych links, if he should step down as head of Twitter. And then he said, I will abide by the results of this poll. A lot of people think that he was already going to step down anyway, and this was just Elon's way of stirring the pot and, you know, a lot of people are thinking like the Saudi investment team that are backing him had probably already had a discussion with him about stepping down, and this is just his way of, you know, he's loving these Twitter polls, and it gets a lot of traction, and
Mhm.
everybody talks about it. So,
Guilty.
um, exactly. So he obviously was voted out. You oh,
Off
the
the
weakest
island.
link. Goodbye. Exactly.
You're the weakest link.
Goodbye. So yeah, almost 58% of people that voted in the poll voted him out.
Mhm.
I did not vote in the poll because I was afraid he would suspend my account if I voted yes. So
That would
I
have been
didn't vote in the poll.
that would have been epic. Honestly, he should have.
I literally thought about it and was like, I'm not voting in this because I don't want, like, even though it's like Twitter for me is like I shout into the void, you know, there's really
Yeah.
not a lot of traction. Occasionally, I mean, A, like I get all my news from Twitter, and B, it's like occasionally you do make connections with people and, you know,
Yeah.
like-minded people, and you just start chatting with random people and it's fun. And, you know, so like I was not getting kicked off, man. I was not partaking in that poll.
It's not
But
worth the
surprise,
risk.
surprise, no. People said yes, you need to get the heck out of here.
Yeah.
And
Get back
so
to
then of course he's like, okay, as
get
I
back to
promised.
EVs and rocket ships and digging holes and doing solar stuff and
Exactly.
getting us to Mars and so on. Now, to be fair, when he bought Twitter, he did say that he was not going to be running it forever and that he would be
Exactly.
eventually, he was going to be looking for someone to take his place. So one of the theories is he's already got someone and he knew what people were going to say. And so now it's going to be like, here, hot potato, you take it, whoever it is.
He's For all the things you can say about him, he definitely is in on the joke all the time, I think.
Hmm. Hmm.
So this is why when he made that poll, that's was a lot of people's assumptions, and most of us kind of looked at it and went, "Well, yeah, you were already told to step down, or you already know you're going to slash, you know, whatever it might be." So, but it's a smart way to get people talking
And it's even getting the
and
attention
poke fun at himself.
and it's even getting the attention of former social networking site founders and CEOs such as
Oh, um, Tom from MySpace. So he replied, "Depends who you get to run it," to the poll. There were actually a lot of really good replies to it,
with
which
thinking
were
emoji.
really funny. Exactly.
Yeah. So, do you think Tom's going to get the job? Can you
I mean,
imagine?
people are losing it. It made for good memes, right? All over
Of
the
course,
internet was like
of course.
people would lose it in a good way, I think. But
Yeah, all the
um,
millennials who grew up with MySpace, they're like, yeah,
oh yeah,
Tom, come on back.
exactly.
So, in other slightly more constructive, slightly confusing, but maybe less confusing than past ideas, it looks like Twitter's finally kind of locking down how the verification badges are going to work.
It's ridiculous. I still think we talked about this before. It's like you already had one badge. That's all you needed. So now there's like round yellow badges. You have the blue verification check mark you can pay for. But if you're is it just news, or is it like officially, you know, official accounts that get now a square profile picture? Like, who's even going to a person's profile? Like, I don't even understand why. What is
So
this?
who knows? Well, because they still have the like hexagonal ones for NFT based ones. So from what I
It
understand,
makes no sense.
there's the regular verified accounts there's the legacy verified accounts, which apparently will go away. There's the new verified accounts as part of Twitter Blue that you'll be paying $8 a month for. And then there are the gray accounts, which are government institutions. And then it looks like we've got yellow or maybe gold badges for companies that have verified accounts. And then in addition to that, so the company accounts will their avatars are now going to be square, or like rounded rects, as you mentioned, instead of circles. And they have this new affiliate scheme whereby someone who is an official representative of the brand can somehow link their account, and then they get a mini version of the main avatar, the main company organization avatar beside their own badge as well. So the example they give is Twitter support is an official account of Twitter. So in addition to having a yellow badge, it's also got the a mini Twitter badge that looks like the main Twitter. They happen to share the same logo as Twitter, which makes it confusing too. But basically, so if we had like our company, or let's say if we did Momentous, right? And if we had an official Momentous page that we were paying for, and then we registered each of us, you, me, Gray, and Will as Momentous representatives or affiliates, we would get little black and white Momentous squares beside our badges. So I guess we would have to pay for Twitter Blue to get that as well. So I guess what it's doing is it's extending the verification from, you've got your individuals, you've got your organizations, and then you've got individuals affiliated with organizations to help reduce spoofing. Because one of the problems is people who are claiming to be speaking for a given organization, and we see so much misinformation and disinformation coming out that way. It seems like they're trying to help address that issue. And also bots won't be able to get this, and the like too. So I think, as you know, one of the problems with the single verification badge is they were doled out in what appeared to be kind of an arbitrary sort of way. People had to be notable, and who determined what was notable? And a lot of times it was if you knew someone at Twitter, for example. So it didn't exactly seem fair. So, I mean, they're trying.
They're trying. To me, this is such a niche, like when you think of like real world use for it, it's so niche because, as an example, if I'm an organization, I'm never doling out that affiliate to any individual person ever. And the biggest thing ever since I started working in social was I always crack up when people write things in their bios like tweets are my own.
Oh, geez.
Thoughts are my own, and this stupid thing, and it's like, well, who
Do
else
not
is maybe
my
dumb
employer.
dumb?
Yeah.
Right, but it's like we can still look up who you friggin' work for, so like it's just stupid. I hate that. But this to me is like one of those things where like no organization in their right mind is going to set an individual up as this, because they're going to go, well, what if they go rogue and say a stupid tweet and now we're forever connected? The only way I see it happening is like, it's like Google support, Google giving, Google whatever, like actual official organization.
Yeah, like so departments as opposed to individuals. I mean, I could see a world where you have, journalists, if someone works for the New York Times, then you could have people who say full-time staff of the New York Times who can speak on behalf of that publication. They get their little stamp of approval. And if they do go rogue, then that badge can go away. The tie could be severed, etc. Maybe. But I think to your point, the whole department thing is definitely makes sense. So you could have Microsoft, and then you could have all your Microsoft affiliates, such as Azure and Microsoft 365 and Office and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll see how many are for sub-departments or of the organization, or departments of the organization, or how many for individuals. Those are the kind of things I'm sure Twitter will think through like the day after tomorrow.
Yep. In 4 hours, we can reconvene and see if that's still the case.
All right. Our last kind of main batch of topics here is it's only 5 days till Christmas there, Tasia. Only 4 shopping days left. Are you ready to roll?
Technically, yes.
Well, for those who aren't and still have a little work to do, we've included in our show notes some links for some last-minute gift ideas you can still get for the holidays. Now, if you have Amazon Prime, If the weather cooperates, you could still benefit from the 2-day or sometimes even 1-day shipping, depending if you've got a local warehouse that's close enough. So this one article from The Verge breaks down largely tech gifts like products for the smart home, such as smart bulbs and assistants with screens, and such as the Echo Show, smart vacuums. We've got gaming accessories and things like earbuds, wired earbuds or wireless earbuds. Now, a lot of these gifts are still in the hundreds of dollars. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tasia, are you giving people laptops for Christmas here or iPads? Wait,
Right?
your Kindle Paperwhite, 110. Well, that's a little more reasonable. That still depends on the type of person. Fire 7 tablets, $60 a US. Okay, but a lot of these are still way up there. So if you're still missing some centerpiece gifts for folks or add-ons for those especially close to you, then this might be the kind of list to refer to. There are also a bunch of ideas from CNET that aren't all tech. I mean, they've got a fair bit of tech in here, but some other things like aromatherapy shower steamers, bonsai tree starter kits. I like it when you've got gifts under $25, right? If you need to get a gift for someone at the office, or your brother-in-law, or you're doing some stocking stuffers, even white elephant gifts at work or with family and friends. So here we go, beard grooming kit. Don't get me that. Microwave popcorn makers, 4-piece plier sets, a beanie hat. Some of that stuff's kind of cool, right? And then gifts under $50. A decanter with glasses, IPA brewing kit, mobile game controls, a flannel cookie blanket. That's what he always wanted. Apple AirTags. I'm a big fan of those. So do you have any either successful last minute gift ideas, gifts under $10, sorry, $100 or $50 or $25 or even under $10, be it tech or otherwise, that you've given or received in the past, Tasia, or that you would just simply recommend for people who are in a pinch?
I am a big cash and gift card person
Uh-huh.
because, like, my family, we don't do a ton of gifts. Like, we're more like kind of just like practical stuff or like,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. But um, yeah, you can't. I know it's like everybody seems it's always so like impersonal, but geez, I'll tell you, a gift card is a great thing. Cash is a great gift, and they can get what they want when they want it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
And now it's like so many things are back ordered. Like we had to run, I actually had to go into a store. Can you imagine? And
A
we had to run to
store?
like
Ooh.
I know, three different ones to get one thing that we were getting for my nephew because we kept ordering it online and it would say it would be delivered. And it was like, your delivery is delayed. And I was like, no.
No.
So anyway, we had to go into a store and find it. And even that took a couple attempts. But yeah, so I would just say don't get people junk that's going to end up in the landfill. And
Bingo.
that's your other lesson of the day.
Mm-hmm. Well put. Again, yeah, cash is the most versatile. Gift cards, somewhat less so, but more personal. And if you know the person, you can the kind of places they might like to shop. Especially if it's a bit of a treat. I mean, I've given and received like gas station gift cards before. I mean, very practical. If you got a starving student in your life who can barely afford to keep their car, it can come in handy.
Yep.
Or it's a way they can get groceries too. Did that in the past, buying groceries at the gas station. So, but like a little splurge. It's some of the best gifts are gifts that people would like, but wouldn't necessarily get for themselves. So with a gift card as opposed to cash, at least it locks them into treating themselves to something from that retailer, as opposed to just like using that cash for like regular expenses, right? Because not everyone, keeps things separate because money is fungible. We need to be careful in buying tech gifts for people, because if you have real tech geeks, they sometimes have very particular preferences. So you have to watch out for that. But there are some things that can still come in handy. Things like, I don't have it handy, but that you can get little jars or buckets of like slime, that green slime for cleaning out keyboards. That's great, because you mush that into your keyboards and it pulls out all sorts of like crumbs and hair and stuff. And then when you put it back in the container, it makes great farting noises. Kids love it. but that's practical. It's not the kind of thing that someone would necessarily think to buy for themselves. If you know what kind of mobile devices they have, some folks like to have extra charging bricks. Portable power banks are always handy as well, especially for those people who are forgetful about charging well their phones on a regular basis. And the appropriate cables too. Especially as people are moving to USB-C now, some people don't have as many USB-C cables kicking around, so there's some kind of practical things like that. I'm a big fan of, to your point, Tasia, about avoiding landfill. Food gifts are great, like little snacks, be they sweet or savory, or exotic pops that you find, or other sorts of drinks, coffees, and anything that's consumable like that. I'm a big fan of as well, because you can often find things that are affordable. Even when I come down to the States, I sometimes find exotic cereals that we can't get in Canada, and those can make for fun treats to help augment gifts as well. We have another link for kid-friendly gifts that aren't video games. Video games are fun, but they have their place. And if you're trying to limit the amount of screen time, there's a number of suggestions here. I've always been a big fan of Lego. Got card games, Slinky. I mean, Slinky's cheap, but I guess it depends on the age of the kid. I don't know how much mileage you're going to get out of a Slinky, frankly. More Lego stuff, and a lot of Star Wars branded stuff. Jenga. If you don't have Jenga in your life, you need Jenga. Good for family get-togethers. Big Jengas, little Jengas. You can get yard Jengas. Uno is a fun card game. More Lego. This one's branded Black Panther. So there's a few little gifts there, gift ideas for kids there. And white elephant gifts, again, for get-togethers with the family, friends, or at the office. Little gripper slippers and beverage coolers and different types of phone cases, handles, whiskey cocktail kits, adult coloring books. Are we still is that still a thing, adult coloring?
I haven't seen those in a while.
It seemed like that was like in the before times. Oh, Amazon gift cards. There you go. Gift cards, coffee warmers, birth date candles, chocolates. Again, there's the food thing. Little Bluetooth speakers. I'd be careful about that. I think there's a lot. I've got a lot of little Bluetooth speakers in my life that I've got, because a lot of time companies give them away as swag now too. Mm-hmm. What do you want in your stocking this Christmas, Tasia?
I'm very much against getting junk and stuff I don't want. So I pretty much tell people.
What do you want? Is there like food treats? We got to put it out to the universe.
Well, I already got most of what I wanted.
Don't tell me you bought it for yourself.
I do, or I just tell people this is the book I would want.
Gift lists are fine. Wish lists, yeah.
Books are always good if you know what people like and what they're into. So I got my books already.
How many bestsellers next year are going to be written by AIs?
Oh my gosh, I'm going to write one.
I had ChatGPT write a scene in the style of a Korean TV soap opera, but and featuring Luke and Leia Skywalker discussing their forbidden love.
This is what you do with your time.
And it was quite compelling and a little creepy. Because I think it was in the first Star Wars movie, before they knew they were brother and sister, that they kissed, right? It was just like a little... But...
Gross.
You a fan of, speaking of the holiday spirit, you a fan of Love Actually, Tasia? Is that one of your go-tos for the Christmas movies?
I'm actually not a fan of that movie. I call it Lust Actually. I don't think any part of it is actual love. So...
Any part of it at all? Wow. Oh. Shots fired.
Yep.
Well, what if I
saw it, I was like, what in the hell is this junk?
Well, what if I told you?
Should have been named Lust Actually.
That's some strong coffee. Well, what if I told you that the sweet scene at the end with the boy and running through the airport to the girl for whom he had affection, it was originally meant to be almost a quasi-athletic scene where he'd been a trained junior gymnast and was able to put his gymnastics powers to use in this scene. Would that have made the difference for you?
But I don't get it. Why?
Maybe that's why it was cut. It was just for extra drama. Look at him go.
Sure.
Maybe it was like it got cut because it was a little obvious that it wasn't that kid. Anyhow, that's just some holiday themed entertainment news for you. Good chat.
Not a fan.
Okay, are you a fan of Barbie then? Because it's an epic new teaser trailer from director Greta Gerwig. They're rebooting Barbie, and the trailer is
Margot
evocative,
Robbie's having a moment.
right? And worth checking out the teaser. And it's a little reminiscent of 2001, A Space Odyssey. You got little girls playing with dolls, but since time immemorial, they were just baby dolls until Barbie came along. We're going to see where this goes because, Greta Gerwig is pretty contemporary director, and I'm sure she'll have a pretty modern take on Barbie. I think Ryan Gosling's in it as well. Is he Ken? Other
Yes.
interesting cast. Are you looking forward to this one, Tasia?
I actually am. I think it'll be cute.
All right. Reclaiming Barbie for the modern era.
Yeah, I think it's going to have like a good message.
All right. We're almost at the end. We know you got to go to bed. What's your pick of the week this week, Tasia?
It's just kind of more of like an update is my pick. So the whole like Ticketmaster debacle situation.
Okay.
Like a week and a half ago, Ticketmaster emailed me and like a bunch of fans that were supposed to have the verified boost from the Loverfest. I don't know if you remember that whole thing. Y'all can watch my YouTube video if you don't know what I'm talking about. And the email was like, congratulations, you have been selected to request 2 tickets for Taylor Swift's like show, blah, blah. And it was like my local show. And I was like, what is this? What is happening? What is going on? It was like 7 a.m. And I was like, oh, is this a joke? Is this fraud? Like, I was like, what's going on? And it was real. And so basically, and it said it came from Taylor's team herself. So obviously Queen Taylor was like, you better make this right. And they said, like, we noticed you're a verified fan and you didn't get tickets. And so you get a chance to request tickets. Like, stay tuned. And I was like, what? So sure enough, like I was like, yeah, I'm interested. Cool. And yesterday morning, so then I didn't hear anything for like, I don't know, week and a half, however long it was.
Longest week and a half ever, right?
Seriously. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. Maybe it was like a week. I don't know. So I get an email yesterday morning from Ticketmaster that's like, okay, here you go. Now's your chance. You have 24 hours to request 2 tickets. And I requested tickets and I put the request through. And then it was like, okay, thanks. You'll know like on the 21st, like if you get tickets or not. I was like, oh, this is so stressful. And then this morning, I got an email that said I got tickets. And so I did.
Did you scream?
Card. I screamed and I freaked out, like, because they're insanely good. And so, like, I don't know what happened, but like, they're front row.
What?
I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. Now they're like the side front row, like
still
they're like front row side, and I'm like, wait, and I had to like verify it. I was shaking. My heart rate, like my Apple Watch was like, your heart rate.
Are you having a cardiac event?
Seriously.
Hit okay or cancel.
I know. So like so I'm very excited, and I called Brett like screaming. He was like at work and I was like, everything's fine, but oh my God. I was like, I don't know what to do. And then but they're like, you'll receive the tickets, whatever, basically weirdly in the future. So then I was like, oh my God. But I checked, my card was charged and it all seems very much legit. And so I don't know, hopefully it's real and I will indeed receive tickets and I didn't get scammed. But everybody says, like, there were people on Twitter I was talking to about it as well, that like there were other people that got it. But I just want to take this point to say, obviously Queen did something about it and I'm like very, very happy about that. But second to that is, if you recall, Ticketmaster initially said to all of us that our verified boost would count. and then they didn't count. And then when they were called out about it, they lied and said, "Oh, we never said verified boosts would count." And everyone's like, "We have receipts. What are you talking about? We have emails." And then now we got the and it was only for the fans that were verified with I think, well, in my case it's verified with a boost. So like obviously then they're like walking that back because it was like, oh man, if that's not an admission of guilt, I don't know what is. But I'm very excited. I'm trying to like remain calm because until the tickets are like in my hot little hands, I can't take another heartbreak, Tristan.
It's an
I
impending
will
Christmas
freak.
miracle.
It's a Christmas miracle. Like if it's true and like that seating chart is true, I'm gonna freak my freak. I'm gonna freak out. I'm gonna freak out.
That's
So that's
before
my
they move the
update.
stage backwards and add a bunch more rows in front.
That's why just like they're gonna say, "Oh, psych, that's an incorrect seating chart. You're looking at the wrong stadium." Like, oh no. So
Well,
yeah,
maybe
I got a second chance and it worked.
Love it. Maybe if what you say is true and your queen intervened herself, maybe she could fix Twitter for us.
She could fix anything.
She could put Taylor Swift for CEO of Twitter. Let's see what the AI thinks about that now that it has a rival.
Right?
Now, I just need to shout out a cloud for a moment because, Tasia, back in my day when we wanted concert tickets, we lined up for hours and hours at the mall, at the ticket kiosk.
I remember.
And we were happy.
Oh, Sunrise Records, Sam's Records. Remember that? The wristband situation. You would physically line up, talk to a dude behind a computer in the middle of Sunrise Records. It's just like, can I have 4 tickets to the Backstreet Boys, please? Let me see. Wild times.
That sounds like your lived experience, Tasia. Want to know what my pick of the week is? Beyond compare.
I'm very curious about your pick of the week.
It's something I've been thinking about for a while. And it's a little different. It's something we've never done before. It's Kirkland signature 2% cottage cheese.
Very intriguing.
Something occurred to me. Well, so I go to Costco about once a month with my friend Sam. And despite what this says here, the Costco, on the regular Costco site, you can't get the cottage cheese, but on the Costco Business Center website, you can. And here it says 2 times 500-gram containers. Well, in store, you get what's actually shown in the picture here, which is 3 750-gram containers.
Whoa.
That's a lot of cottage cheese to eat before it goes off, especially if you only got a couple of people in your household. So the key is just to not open them until you absolutely need to. And the other key, I've learned from experience, is not to put them in a downstairs, very old bar fridge that has trouble regulating its temperature and sometimes gets a little too cold and accidentally freezes your cottage cheese. Because when it defrosts, you're going to have a bad time. Like the cellular structure is all been compromised and your once nice meaty little curds have shattered into oblivion and the texture is all kinds of wrong. So what I've really come to appreciate, and it really got driven home last month, I came home with a 3-pack of Kirkland Signature 2% cottage cheese. This is not sponsored by Costco. And I've liked cottage cheese since I was a kid. I remember being on Salt Spring Island when I was 8 years old, my mom feeding me cottage cheese. Open up that container, break the seal, just grab a spoon, big old scoop. Nothing like real good fresh Kirkland Signature 2% cottage cheese. Oh my
God.
And if you want to be fancy, you can add a little Worcester sauce to it, maybe a little hot sauce, put it on the side of a salad, put it on the side of certain types of soups. It's very versatile. And you're getting your vitamin D, you're getting some dairy, getting some protein in there. All I got to say, I think maybe I'm grading on a curve because the previously frozen cottage cheese experience from the previous month was just so heartbreaking. And so my lovely wife, Stephanie, went to Costco yesterday morning, very early when it was a ghost town before the major snows came. And what did she do? She picked up another 3-pack of Kirkland Signature 2% cottage cheese. And she partook of some fresh. And she was like, this is good. I'm like, I know, right? So our marriage is now
My
stronger than
lactose
ever.
intolerance.
Oh,
My lactose intolerance
I'm
is
sorry. I'm
acting up.
not being very inclusive. You just like you clenching,
Just
just thinking
thinking
of
of
it.
you eating cottage cheese with a spoon. Woo!
So that's another lesson from today's episode of Momentous Live. Don't let your cottage cheese freeze, or you're going to have a bad time. All right, you have a quick little project before we let you go to sleep. What did you do this week on YouTube?
I know I'm yawning already. Oh yeah. I did another Gmail tip video on how to create multiple email addresses using one Gmail account.
So with these aliases, then?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like teaching people like plus addressing or using the
Ooh.
period,
Mhm.
or changing the domain.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Why might someone want to have multiple email addresses coming into a single Gmail account?
Oh God, if you have to sign up for stupid newsletter things at a store or like coupon code things and all that kind of spam stuff, if you're signing up for streaming service trials and you don't want to pay for it and you want to put a new email in and have a new account,
Mm-hmm.
do it. There's so many reasons.
Pro tips.
Yep.
Life hacks.
I got you.
Saving money.
Yep.
Well, this economy, right? Awesome.
I'm always here with the cheap, free tips.
Now, do you have a video coming this Thursday as well? Or are you taking any time off over
sure
the
do.
holidays? All right.
No, I'm not. And they're both Mac videos. So this Thursday, 2 days, keep your eye out for one on should you upgrade to macOS Ventura and what you need to know before you upgrade.
I'll be watching that one.
And then the following video, which is, the last video of December, will be what's new in macOS Ventura. So it's kind of like the best tips and tricks found in Ventura.
Awesome. And people can find your YouTube content at
youtube.com/TajaCustody.
Or how about your own website that you can link to from Twitter and not get
You can go to
penalized a few hours ago.
TajaCustody.com.
TajaCustody.com.
Or you can just Google @TajaCustody and all the things will come up.
And you can find out more about us at momentus.tv/links. And stay tuned tune in a week, because on Tuesday, December 27th, we're going to have another end of the year roundup. Last year's was a lot of fun. We'll probably have some special guests. And then the week after that, I think it's January 3rd, early January, we're going to be looking to the year ahead with some anticipated picks, things we're looking forward to. And both episodes are things in the realm of tech and movies, TV shows, some wild card picks as well, maybe even some cottage cheese or other dairy products.
Doesn't get more wild than that.
Right? That's how we party here at Momentous Live. Tasia, thanks for staying up with me. And Gray is on the other side of the world. He'll be back soon. Will be back soon. Hopefully we'll get the band all back together over the holidays. And until then, we hope your week is truly momentous.